So John Bolton is Donald Trump's national security advisor, right? Now he's also a neocon and a warmonger who despises Muslims and wants a war with Iran, another disastrous war in the Middle East. Now, that's exactly what we want here in America. That's exactly what we clamored for when or I should say the American people, when a lot of people voted for Donald Trump, who said, oh, the wars in the Middle East are an absolute disaster. I'm not going to do any of those. Oops. Well, so anyway, John Bolton gets chosen by Donald Trump to be national security advisor, and part of that job means building up a team in which you could put forward your agenda. Now, as I said, the agenda before for John Bolton is more war. Now, that is reflected in Bolton's newest pick for the NSC's executive secretary and chief of staff. So the person that he has chosen for this position is a man named Fred Fleitz. Now, Fred Fleitz happens to be a critic of the Iran nuclear deal, which has been ripped up, and was also Bolton's former chief of staff while an undersecretary of state in the George W. Bush administration. So this guy is a former Bolton aide. They worked together in the administration, in the Bush administration. What happened during the Bush administration? Oh, right, we went to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Lovely. So, you can kind of see the impact that this little pairing seemed to have had on the Bush administration. Gee, I wonder if it's going to have an impact in the Trump administration. Well, let's look into it, right? Now, Fleitz happens to be an incredibly outspoken opponent of Muslims. Not Muslim fundamentalists, not Muslim extremists, not Muslim terrorists, which we are all outspoken against terrorists. But let me show you how outspoken he is against all Muslims. The Washington Post explains. Fleitz, a former CIA analyst and occasional guest on Fox News, is the author of Obamabomb, a dangerous and growing national security fraud, and the coming North Korea nuclear nightmare, what Trump must do to reverse Obama's strategic patience. Nothing scary about those book titles. They continue. Fleitz has promoted the myth of European no-go zones, places the CSP, which is the organization that he actually works for, which is a very virulently anti-Muslim organization with ties to white nationalists and neo-Nazis. He used this widely debunked survey by that organization that suggested a quarter of all Muslims support violence against all Americans. Now, the Washington Post also notes that during his campaign, Trump cited the same survey in calling for a ban on Muslims entering the United States. That is the Muslim ban. Okay. So, oh goody. We have somebody peddling anti-Muslim conspiracies as part of the National Security Council. There's no way this is going to go badly. Well, but wait. It's going to get worse. Fleitz also was promoted the idea of, quote, a clash of civilizations between Islam and the United States, and had co-authored a 2015 CSP report titled, quote, a plan for victory over the global jihad movement, that claimed that a majority of Muslims and Islamic authorities promote or at least support jihad and Sharia supremacism. Now, the report said, quote, unfortunately, no significant elements from within Islam have thus far presented themselves as likely allies in the death struggle we confront with our mutual enemies. Death struggle. I don't want any part of a death struggle. I am anti-death struggle. Now, this guy thinks that a majority of the billion Muslims in the world are out here to destroy the United States, to support Sharia law, and that we are in a clash of civilizations with those people. This guy is certifiable. He's nuts. Now, are there violent fundamentalist Muslims? Of course there are. And are there a lot of them? Well, I would say, look, you take 1.1% of a billion people, and yeah, that turns out to be a lot of people, right? Who are fundamentalists, who believe in Sharia law, right? But to say that all of them, or nearly all of the billion Muslims in the world, that there is no significant elements within Islam that can be allies against fundamentalism, that is ridiculous. Way to ignore moderate Muslims who don't believe in Sharia law. Those should be our allies, and we should be working together with those countries. Now, that does not include Saudi Arabia, which is fundamentalist Muslim. Obviously, working with Iran, they are fundamentalist Muslim. But if there's a moderate Muslim country, well, then yes, we would want to be allies with them, right? And help them out and continue on them on a course towards secularism, or to continue secularism. But unfortunately, that happens to not be good for war. In fact, the United States wants these countries. Some people in the government, people like Bolton, want these governments to be fundamentalist so that we can go to war with them over oil. And that's what, of course, this is about. War. Now, Fleitz argues that we should make them all our enemy. The 1 billion Muslims in the world. They're all our enemy. That's not good. Now, speaking of that, Fleitz and the CSB have claimed that major American Muslims organizations and mosques are secretly working to advance a jihadist agenda. Well, like, they believe that the jihad is happening in middle of Kansas. This is crazy stuff. And actually, they believe that it's happening in the middle of Michigan. Now, they say that such groups should not be trusted when they claim to eschew violence, and that they should be, quote, neutralized as political forces. So, hey man, let's get rid of the First Amendment, the freedom of religion, and neutralize what are American citizens because they're Muslims and therefore they can't be trusted. We know they're working on secret jihad. This is literally unconstitutional. Not only that, but he recently blamed a terrorist attack in London on British Muslims' quote, failure to assimilate. And he further brings it towards the United States as well. He said there are communities where British Muslims are deliberately not assimilating, are being taught to hate British society, and this is incubating radicalism. No, you know what incubates radicalism? When you bomb their countries. He said there's actually a parallel system of Sharia law courts in the UK that operate. Now, those are extraordinary claims, right? Now, if you're saying that there is a system that is set up that is aside from the legal system in the United Kingdom, strictly for Sharia law, well, then you would want to have proof, right? Oh, right, there's no proof. No-go zones, they've been debunked as an enormous lie. Billions of times, right? Now, however, that doesn't stop them from saying the same thing about American Muslim communities. For example, he says, quote, I'm not concerned about Amish or Jewish communities, but I will tell you that there are enclaves of Muslim communities in Michigan and Minnesota that concern me. They concern you. Well, why is that? Well, he points to Minnesota, right? Now, in Minnesota, there is a rising rate of measles because the community, he said, has not assimilated into the rest of the community and is not vaccinating their children. Now, look, he said, quote, that is concerning, right? I mean, I believe in vaccines. I believe in the science. So what happened? There was an outbreak in Minneapolis because anti-vaccine activists convinced members of the Somali immigrant community that vaccines cause autism. So that's the situation, right? The situation in Minnesota is that these idiot anti-vaxxers, which can be both left-wing or right-wing, stupid doesn't know any bounds. There are stupid on both sides, that go in and say, oh, vaccines, autism, Wakefield, the Wakefield study. Wait, the Wakefield study was debunked. Debunked completely. And yet they continue to say, oh, no, vaccines, autism, vaccines. Got to be careful. Vaccines, autism. Hey, the Somali community, don't get your kids vaccinated. And then later on, right-wingers go and say, oh, look at the Somalis. They're not assimilating by using vaccines. Insanity. It's not the anti-vaxxers that are the problem. No, it's the Muslims. It's the Muslims. No, you know what? You know what the real enemy in this situation is? It's disinformation. That's the real problem. People not believing in facts and logic, just like our boy Fleitz, right? Totally ironic. But look, the real reason that he's after the Muslims, he's a bigot and he's a demagogue. And that's what he wants to do. And of course, number 2, he wants war. He is a neocon just like John Bolton. You don't think he wants to invade Iran? He wants to invade Iran. He said it. He said that there is a clash of civilizations between the United States and all Muslims. All of them. I told you before, John Bolton is incredibly dangerous. Because now he has power. And now he can fill our national security apparatus with horrific war hawks just like himself. And you know what that means? Disaster. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.